back to our new topic, Unit 8, about the elasticity. What is elasticity now? Elasticity. So I am still your teacher, Ndayamba Jerukara. We are going to see unit number 8 about elasticity. What is elasticity? Remember that we are on microeconomics, and as a topic area, unit 2.1 is price theory. Now unit 8 is elasticity. In this unit we are going to look introduction. We are going to look elasticity of demand, price elasticity of demand, determinant of price elasticity of demand, practical application of price elasticity of demand, income elasticity of demand, cross elasticity of demand, elasticity of supply, price elasticity of supply, interpretation of price elasticity of supply, determination or determinant of price elasticity of supply, unit summary, and unit assessment. So welcome back to our unit now. What is elasticity? At the end of this unit, a student should be able to interpret the variations in percentages of quantity demanded and supply due to change in the determinants. Ni ukuvuga ngo noneho nyuma y'iyi unit umunyeshuri araba ashoboye kugaragaza guhindagurika kwa kwijanisha rya quantity demanded cyangwa se ibikenerwa ku isoko, ingano y'ibikenerwa ku isoko ndetse n'ibiri ku isoko, n'ingano y'ibiri ku isoko bitewe nuko na determinant za determinant n'ibitera guhindagurika kw'ibyo bintu uko ari bibiri. Introduction now. So in your groups, carry out research in the library, read through business newspaper articles, business magazines and journals, economics textbooks, and from the internet the meaning of the following words. What is elasticity? Elasticity of demand, elasticity of supply, price elasticity of demand, income elasticity of demand, cross elasticity of demand, price elasticity of supply. So demand schedule, this is a demand schedule, activity 8.2. So you have to read it carefully and then answer the questions that follow. Start the demand schedule A, B, C, and D. Compare how quantity demanded leads to change in price in each of the above demand schedule. What do you derive from your comparison? Use demand schedule above the illustrate an appropriate demand curve for each schedule. Compare the slopes of your demand curves and make a clear comment on each. C. Identify and discuss the market condition that can explain why quantity demanded may respond to changes in price as shown in each of your curves. D. With your knowledge of the supply law, change the above demand schedules into supply schedules. E. Repeat the same activity as in I2, I3 above using your supply schedules derived in IV above. So discovery in unit 5 and 6 we showed that quantity demanded changes when there are changes in price. We have seen it. We also looked at how sellers vary their quantities supplied when market prices change. We showed that quantity demanded and quantity supplied increase or decrease when other factors that influence them change. Under certain conditions, the consumer may not vary much of commodity he or she purchased, irrespective of changes in the prices of other factors. In other conditions, the supplier may supply almost the same quantity of a commodity irrespective of the increase or decrease in prices. We have seen them. In this unit now of elasticity, we shall look at how quantity demanded or supplied responds to change in price or other factors that influence it. So as a fact now, the degree of reaction of dependent variables to change in independent variables is what is called elasticity. The reaction of dependent variables. Hari variables zihindagurika cyangwa se zibanda ku yindi cyangwa se zidependent cyangwa se zishingikiriza ku guhindagurika kw'izindi independent variables zazo n'izihagije, ibyo bintu, iyo reaction, iyo degree cyangwa se iyo percentage hari aho ngaho niyo biba bita elasticity. So an independent variable is a factor that has an influence on another associated factor that is called a dependent variable. Price of commodity, income of the consumer, and the price of related commodities are examples of independent variables. Price of commodity, income of the consumer, and the price of related commodities. Those are examples of independent variables. These independent variables have a direct influence on demand variables such as quantity demanded or quantity supplied. So elasticity of demand now as number 8.2. So activity now, from the research you made in activity 8.1, the research that I have mentioned, explain the forms of elasticity of demand, show how different they are. We are going to differentiate the forms of elasticity. Now, elasticity of demand is a measure of degree of responsiveness of the quantity demanded of commodity to changes in factors that affect demand. No kuvuga ngo elasticity of demand imezura cyangwa se ipima degree of responsiveness, the percentage of quantity demanded. Quantity demanded, ingano y'ibikenewe ku isoko ariko mu guhinduka kwa factors that affect demand. So when factors that influence quantity demanded, such as price of commodity, income of the consumer, or price of related commodities change, the quantity demanded of commodity responds. However, our main concern is the percentage of this response. Elasticity of demand thus measures the percentage of such response. Yeah, it is clear now. In your study of demand schedule in the group of activity at the beginning of this unity, you discovered that quantity demand of commodities V, X, Y, and Z responded differently to price changes. So the difference in their response shows these commodities have a difference in their price elasticity of demand. So then, in this unit, we shall categorize elasticity of demand into price elasticity of demand, income elasticity of demand, and cross elasticity of demand. So this is how it is scheduled, is characterized. Elasticity, we have elasticity of demand. This is the summary that we are going to read. Elasticity of supply, and we have also in elasticity of demand, we have price elasticity of demand, PAD, and income elasticity of demand, EED, and we have cross elasticity of demand, C, E, and D. Point elasticity of demand, in the price elasticity of demand, we have point elasticity of demand and arc elasticity of demand. So we are going to see about that summary, that table. So price elasticity of demand, it is symbolized by P, E, and D. So activity at 4, with a reference to the research you made in activity at 1, explain to your classmate seated next to you the meaning of price elasticity of demand. So price elasticity of demand refer to the measure of the degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded of commodity due to change in its own price. So in measuring the percentage changes of quantity demanded of a commodity to changes in its own price. So when the price of commodity increases or decreases in its quantity demanded, react to a certain extent. Quantity demanded may reduce, increase, or even remain constant. Price elasticity of demand therefore measures the extent of these reactions. So price elasticity of demand is measured as a percentage change in quantity demanded to the percent change in prices. Here are the mathematical examples that we are going to see about the price elasticity of demand. So now we can see this example, this mathematically, this can be illustrated as follows. Price elasticity of demand equal to percentage change in quantity demand of the commodity over percentage change in price of the commodity times 100. This indicates the percentage now. So this is the mathematical that you are going to see about the price elasticity of demand. So now this is the formula of the price elasticity of demand. So where eliminate or this is an explanation of those abbreviations that we are going to see. P is the price, Q is quantity. So while these arrows change in price and they change in quantity. So that's, and remember to add minus. This minus, it is it indicates kuvuga ngo kuri formula ya price elasticity of demand no kuvuga ngo habagomba kubaho minus bitewe nuko the percentage change in quantity demanded and the percentage change in the price of the commodity, there cannot be a position of negative. If you see, you will see as an examples here down. So as an examples now, using a formula given below, solve the following questions formula. PAD, percentage change minus percentage change in quantity demanded of the commodity. Using this formula as we have shown there above, the price of commodity X increased from 200 kilograms to 300 kilograms as the result of a 20% decrease in its quantity demanded. Determine its price elasticity of demand. So impamvu habaho iriya minus nkuko twabisobanuye ruguru gatoya, impamvu habaho iyi minus percentage change kuvuga ngo change is from 1 to 2.1 to 2 kuvuga ngo percent change ni kuva kuri wenda ijana kugera kuri 200 ni urugero. Kuvuga ngo nufata ijana ugakuramo 200 harasigaramo za minus, harazamo minus kandi ukumva price igomba kuba iri positively, price elasticity of demand igomba kuba iri positively now. So now this why it is indicate how this minus will multiply by that minus that we have seen and we have talked about, then you shall see whether it is a profitable or loss. So that's why. Now, based on that formula, read those questions and then answer as the formula it is stated. Price elasticity of demand may be categorized into perfectly inelastic demand and inelastic demand. Kuvuga ngo price elasticity, if you take category, is tandukanye, and perfectly inelastic demand, unitary elastic demand, and elastic demand, perfectly elastic demand. So perfectly inelastic demand as category number 1, refer to question 5 in activity 8.5. Kuvuga ngo refera kuri examples twatanze ruguru izo activity twabonye and analyze your answer. Use it to interpret and categorize the price elasticity of commodity S. So when demand is perfectly inelastic, then PED equals 0. Kuvuga ngo igihe demand iri perfectly inelastic, kuvuga ngo price elasticity of demand ibingana na 0. Niyo mpamvu bavuze ngo wirefera ku kibazo cya gatanu twabonye haruguru muri examples, kibazo cya gatanu. Noneho igisubizo wabonye niba price elasticity of demand ingana na 0, then it is perfectly inelastic. A change in price results into 0 change in quantity demanded. Consumers do not respond to change in price. As the price changes, consumers continue to buy the same amount of commodity that they have been buying before the price change. Kuvuga ngo uko igiciro gihindagurika, abakiriya cyangwa se abaguzi bakomeza kugura bya bicuruzwa bahoze bagura n'ubundi mu gihe igiciro cyahindutse mbere yuko igiciro gihinduka. This is illustration about those events. kuvuga ngo ahangaha urukubona ko price zahindutse ariko quantity ikaguma ari ya yindi. Is what we call perfectly inelastic. Ni ukuvuga guhinduka kw'ibiciro ntacyo byakoze kuri guhinduka kwa quantity. Quantity zagumye ari zimwe bari kugura. As the price increases from OP1 to OP2, a bigger change, quantity demanded remains a constant at OQ1. Yeah, that's why. So inelastic demand refer to the question 1 in activity 85, example that we have seen, and analyze your answer. Use it to interpret and categorize the price elasticity of commodity X. When demand is inelastic, your demand is inelastic. No, the price elasticity of demand is greater than 0 and 0 is less than 1. Yeah, a change in price results into a proportionately smaller change in quantity demanded. Consumers do not vigorously respond to change in price. There is a bigger change in price leading to smaller change in quantity demanded. As the price changes, consumers continue to buy almost the same amount of commodity that they have been buying before the price changed. No kuvuga ngo uko igiciro hari bigger change in price leading to smaller change in quantity demanded. Kuvuga ngo haba hari guhindagurika kw'igiciro cyane mu gihe quantity demanded ziri guhinduka gahoro. As the price changes, none igihe igiciro gihindagurika, consumers continue to buy almost the same amount of commodity that they have been buying before the price changed. No kuvuga ngo igihe igiciro gihindutse, aba consumers n'ubundi bakomeza kugura hafi y'ingano y'ibyo baguraga n'ubundi ariko mbere y'uko igiciro gihinduka. Yeah, this is the illustration that we are looking here. So ukuvuga ngo bigger change in the prices ibizatuma noneho hari change in quantity demanded ariko iri nkeya. So as the price increases from OP1 to OP2, a bigger change, quantity demanded slightly react by changing from OQ1 to OQ2, a smaller change. So unitary elastic demand. Refer to the question number 3 in activity 8.5 and analyze your answer. Use it to interpret and categorize the price elasticity of the commodity Z. When demand is unitary elastic, the price elasticity of demand is equal to 1. Kuvuga ngo igihe uzakora ikibazo ugasanga price elasticity of demand ingana na rimwe, as a category of that price elasticity of demand is what we call unitary elastic. Kuvuga ngo igihe uzakora ikibazo bakagusaba kucategorize icyo gisubizo wabonye, then it is unitary elastic. Igihe uzasanga ari rimwe, igihe uzasanga ari 0 nkuko twabibonye ni perfectly inelastic. No perfect inelastic demand, and then in igihe ari 0 perfectly elastic. Then a change in price results into a proportion equal to change in quantity demanded. Consumer respond to change in price. A change in price leads to a relatively equal change in quantity demanded. Angano none igihe price yahindutse, then quantity nayo igahinduka at the same proportion, at the same percentage. Kuvuga ngo byose byahindukiye rimwe noneho birangana. Uko igiciro cyahindutse niko quantity zahindutse. So that is what we call unitary elastic. Icyo gihe uzabona price elasticity of demand ingana na rimwe. Yes, to mean that we have unitary elastic. As the price increase from OP1 to OP2, quantity demanded respond by changing from OQ1 to OQ2. The change in price is almost equal to the change in quantity demanded. So elastic demand now refer to equation 2 in activity 8.5 and analyze your answer. Use it to interpret and categorize the price elasticity of commodity Y. When demand is elastic, then PED greater than 1 and D greater than is less than OQ. So a change in price results into a proportionately bigger change in quantity demanded. Consumers vigorously respond to change in price. There is a smaller change in price leading to bigger change in quantity demanded. As the price changes, consumers buy much less of the commodity. Yes, there is a small change in price leading to bigger change in quantity demanded. This is price change. Consumers buy much less of the commodity. Yes, that's why it is illustrated here. It is illustrated here as you are looking at this graph. So as the price increases from OP1 to OP2, a similar change quantity demand respond by changing from OQ1 to OQ2, a bigger change. Yeah, perfectly elastic demand now. Perfectly elastic demand. Refer to the question for in activity 85 and analyze your answer. Use it to interpret and categorize the price elasticity of the commodity. When demand is perfectly elastic, price elasticity of demand is equal to infinite. So there is a constant price. Quantity demanded changes at a constant price. Consumers vary the amount of commodity they buy. No kuvuga ngo uko igiciro cyagomye kiri constant, ukuvuga ngo noneho abantu bakomeza kugura byinshi cyane birenze uko baguraga. So that's why is quantity demanded is infinite. Perfect elastic demand as illustration as it is illustrated on this graph as you are looking. Price remains constant at 0 P1, but quantity demanded changes from OQ1 to OQ2. Point elasticity. Now, what is point elasticity? This is the price elasticity at a point on the demand curve. It gives the price elasticity with a complete accuracy at a point. It can be calculated using the below formula. Point elasticity of demand equal to minus change in quantity over quantity, initial quantity over change in price over initial price. So this is how is calculated the point elasticity. It is the price elasticity at a point on the demand curve. Yes. So at elasticity, this represents the coefficient of price elasticity between 2 points on the demand curve. It is an estimate of the elasticity along a range of the demand curve. It is calculated using the below formula. At elasticity of demand equal to minus change in quantity over change in price times P1 plus P2. Remember, P is the price and the Q is the quantity. So over Q1 plus Q2, but both is over 2 because it is a range. It is a range or is an average. Yes, that's why arc elasticity of demand is equal to minus change in quantity 1 over P2 minus P1 times P1 plus P2 over 2 over Q1 plus Q2 over 2. That's the formula of arc elasticity of demand. You must know those formulas because it is needed when you are going to solve the equations. So, determinant of price elasticity of demand. Determinant of price elasticity of demand. So, there is different determinant about the price elasticity of demand. There is, number one, consumers' income. Generally, consumers with high incomes have an elastic demand. At any price, they will purchase the commodity they want because their purchasing capacity is high. Yes. Kuvuga ngo umuntu ufite income iri hejuru cyane agura ibyo ashaka kuko amafaranga aba yafite yo kugura ibintu byo ashaka. Yes. Availability of substitutes. Commodities with close substitutes have elastic demand. This is because when their prices increase and those of their substitutes remain constant. Yes. Kuvuga ngo ibintu bihuye bifite same purpose. Kuvuga ngo iyo igiciro kimwe kiyongereye ikindi kigoma kiri constant. Niba ugiye ku isoko ukajya guhaha ibishyimbo ugasanga hariyo n'amashaza, ibishyimbo bifite ibiciro biri hejuru, amashaza araguma constant, then you prefer to buy peas than beans. So number 3, price expectations. Igihe bari guteganya ko igiciro kizahindagurika, kizazamuka ku isoko mu hazaza, icyo gihe bihita biba inelastic. When there is an increase in price in the current period, consumer may not cut it at their purchases because they expect price to increase further in the coming days. Kuvuga ngo baragura muri iki gihe kuko bari guteganya igihe cyo kuzamuka kw'ibiciro, ugasanga bari kubibura, bazagura muri icyo gihe. 4. price of the commodity, sheep commodities have an elastic demand. Yes, commodities ziciriritse ziba zifite an elastic demand. Commodities like matchboxes, razor blades, ibibiriti, inzembe, inshinge, ziba zifite igiciro giciriritse. So is around the price of matchbox is around 50 Rwandan francs. Even if there is 100% an increase in its price, it remains cheap and affordable. Yes. Number 5, degree of agents involved. Agents who needed commodities have an elastic demand. A sick person will be ready to pay any price for medicine that the doctor has prescribed. Yes, that's true. So consumers' ignorance. When the consumers are ignorant of the market conditions, demand becomes inelastic. For instance, a commodity may have substitute, but the consumer is not aware. So when its price increases, the consumer will continue to purchase it, not knowing that there is a close substitute which is even cheaper. Yes. Habit-forming commodities. Number 7. Commodities whose consumption develops habit tend to have inelastic demand. Even if their prices change, consumers consume the same quantities. For example, drug addicts will be ready to pay any price to acquire the commodity. 8. Advertising. Promotional advertising may make demand inelastic. Consumers may be made to buy a commodity at high price because persuasive advertising. Number 9. Durable commodities. Commodities is taramba. Highly durable commodities have an elastic demand. A flat iron box, for instance, is durable and it lasts for over a year. Even if the price of the iron box reduces by bigger percentage, the customer may not buy another iron box. Yes, durable commodities. Commodities iramba. So several uses of the commodity. Commodities that serve many functions have elastic demand. When their price increases, consumers only buy them for the most important of their uses. Their quantity demanded so reduces commodities with a single function have an elastic demand. Practical application of price elasticity of demand. Using your knowledge of elasticity of demand, discuss and identify a real-life situation where you can apply elasticity of demand. Make a class presentation of your discoveries, where you are going to see the practical of elasticity. Elasticity ikoreshwa mu buhe buryo. The concept of price elasticity of demand is essential to the government, producer, and consumers. Price elasticity of demand enables the producer to decide whether to increase or decrease the price in order to increase total revenue. If price elasticity of demand is elastic, producers' total revenue increases when the price is reduced, as illustrated on the graph. So read carefully, we see that. So also, price elasticity of demand is helpful to the monopolist when practicing price discrimination. Kuvuga ngo price elasticity of demand bayifashisha muri monopoly market. Umuntu aho yagafashe wenyine ari gucuruza wenyine nta undi mucuruzi urimo. This is what we call monopoly market. When practicing price discrimination, igihe agiye gushiramo price discrimination cyangwa se gushira igiciro kuvangura abantu akajya bagurisha ibiciro bigiye bitandukanye, icyo nicyo abayifashisha price elasticity. A low price should be charged in a market where price elasticity of demand is high, elastic. So price elasticity of demand helps the producer to determine the wage level for his or her workers. Kuvuga ngo bayifashisha producer yifashisha mu buryo bwo kugira ngo ahembe abakozi be ku mushahara. The government sometimes devalue its currency. Kuvuga ngo government none kayifashisha iri gutakaza agaciro k'amafaranga kugira ngo printing, and this is done to increase the volume of export by making them cheap in the foreign currency. Kuvuga ngo bashaka kugira ngo be increasing export, ibicuruzwa bijya hanze mu buryo bwo kugira ngo ama foreign currency bayateshe agaciro nono y'igihugu abariyo akora. Price elasticity of demand helps government to decide which commodity to tax. Ibi bifasha price elasticity ifasha government kugaragaza commodity bashobora gutaxa cyangwa se kwaka imisoro. Ibyo bituma rero increase tax revenue, habaho increase in tax revenue, then inelastic demand and elastic demand. So now the consumer's expenditure is equal to seller's income. Thus, increase in the producer's income due to increase or decrease in producer prices implies that the consumer's expenditure has increased proportionately. Thus, price elasticity of demand helps the consumer to determine this expenditure by looking at price changes. So now price elasticity of demand helps the government to determine the tax incidence. The tax incidence is the final resting of tax. No incidence ni wa muntu uri butange umusoro bwa nyuma. And we know that in entrepreneurship, the tax incidence, the final resting of tax is what we call customer. Who actually bears the burden of tax? Is it the producer, the consumer, or both? If both, who bears more tax burden than the other? This depends on the price elasticity of the commodity involved. So taxes on production increase the cost of production. When cost of production increases, the scale of production and supply reduces. Increase in the cost of production and the decrease in the supply increase the price of commodities. When demand is elastic, the tax burden is shared by both the consumer and the producer. However, the producer bears the biggest proportion of the tax burden as illustrated in the diagram below. This is how producer bear the burden of taxations. AB represent the tax borne by the consumer, and BC, B minus C, the proportion of the tax that is borne by the producer. A minus B is smaller than B minus C, as illustration is showing there. When demand is inelastic, both the consumer and the producer share the tax burden. However, the consumer bears the biggest proportion of the tax burden, as illustrated in the diagram below. So, study this graph then. A minus B represent the whole tax that is borne by the consumer alone. When demand is perfectly inelastic, the tax burden is borne by the consumers alone, as illustrated here. The quantity remains constant. A minus B represent the whole tax that is borne by the consumer alone. When demand is perfectly elastic, the tax burden is borne by the producer alone, as illustration is shown there. A minus B represents the whole tax that is borne by the producer alone. Income elasticity of demand. Income elasticity of demand. What is income elasticity of demand? So, with your knowledge of price elasticity of demand, use the formula given to answer the questions below. This is an activity that is going to help you by using price elasticity of demand. So, income elasticity of demand is a measure of the degree of responsiveness of quantity demand of a commodity to change in consumer's income. Kuvuga ngo ni percentage, igaragaza percentage of quantity demanded of a commodity to change in the consumer's income. When the income of the buyer increases or decreases, quantity demanded reacts to a certain extent. So quantity demanded may reduce, increase, or even remain constant. Income elasticity of demand therefore measures the extent of this reaction. Income elasticity of demand is measured as a percentage change in quantity demanded to the percentage change in income. This is the formula that indicates the income elasticity of demand. When income elasticity of demand is positive, which implies that the commodity is normal good. Kuvuga ngo igihe uzabona income elasticity of demand ari positive, icyo gihe tuzaba dufite normal good or service. Igihe tuzasanga igisubizo cya income elasticity of demand dukoresha iyo formule tugasanga ari negative, icyo bizatuma bigaragaza yuko dufite inferior good cyangwa se inferior service. Igihe tuzasanga igisubizo ari zero, which implies that the commodity is a necessity, tuzasanga ari necessity good. So, cross elasticity of demand. Cross elasticity of demand, what is it? This is an example that's showing the cross elasticity of demand. No kuvuga ngo ni change in quantity X over change in price Y times the price Y over quantity Y. Yes. And by referring to the formula, you have to answer this question. It's still very simple. It is only to replace. Yeah. Cross elasticity of demand is a measure of the degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded of one commodity X to change in the price of another commodity Y. When the price of one commodity increases or decreases, quantity demanded of other related products react to a certain extent. Quantity demanded may reduce, increase, or even remain constant. Cross elasticity of demand is measured as a percentage change in quantity demanded of one commodity to the percentage change in the price of another commodity. So as a formula is like that, change in quantity X over change in price Y times the price 1 Y over quantity 1. Remember, quantity 1 and price 1 is initial price. Yeah. Cross elasticity of demand can be positive. Kuvuga ngo cross elasticity nayo ushobora guhikora ugasanga igisubizo kiri positive. Iyo ngicyo gihita kiguhereza yuko commodities X and Y ziri substitutes, zihuje same purpose. Igihe uzasanga rero ziri negative cyangwa se igisubizo kiri negative, icyo gizatuma kigaragaza commodity X and Y zo gukora ziri complement, zishobora gukoreshwa hamwe. Igihe uzasanga igisubizo ari 0, this implies that the commodities X and Y ziri unrelated. Uzasanga yuko X and Y zidahuye, zidafitanye isano. Yeah. Elasticity of supply now. Elasticity of supply. Using the knowledge of the research you made in activity 1 of this unit, repeat parts IV and V of activity 2 and exchange your findings amongst your groups. What is elasticity of supply? Elasticity of supply refers to the measure of the degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded of commodity to changes in factors that affect supply. It is very simple. Quantity supplied of commodity is influenced by the number of factors like cost and availability of factors of production. We have seen those factors. Goals of the farm, the level of technology, change in price of related product, government policy, seasonal changes, the number of producers, degree of freedom entry and exit on new farms into the industry, gestation period, or demand for the commodity. Elasticity of supply measure the extent of at which quantity supplied responds to change in these variables. Price elasticity of supply. This is an example. It is calculated by using the formula equal percentage change in quantity supplied over percentage change in prices, as illustration as it is indicated in this activity. So price elasticity equal change in quantity over change in price times P1 over quantity 1. Yeah. Price elasticity of supply refers to a measure of the degree of responsiveness of quantity supplied of commodity to change in the price of the commodities. Price elasticity of supply measure percentage change in quantity supplied to change to percentage change in the prices. As an interpretation of the price elasticity of supply, mugihe uzasanga price elasticity of supply bakakubaza ngo ushiremo interpretation, then you will categorize it using these methods. So we have perfectly inelastic supply, unitary elastic supply, and elastic supply. So in perfect inelastic supply. Perfect inelastic supply, this gives us a supply price elastic supply are zero. Then that one it is called perfectly inelastic. Bizabisobanuye ko consumers do not respond to changes in price. As the price changes, the seller continues to supply the same amount of commodity that they have been buying before the price changed. Yes, that is how it looks like. It is how illustrated. As the price increases from OP1 to OP2, a bigger change, quantity supplied remains constant at OQ1. So in elastic supply, it gives us a price elasticity of supply in elastic supply ni price elastic supply is greater than 0 and less than 1. It is the same as a price elastic demand. A change in price is that into the proportion smaller change in quantity supplied. Supply do not vigorously respond to changes in prices. Yes, that's why. Yeah, it is illustrated like that. Unitary elastic supply unitary elastic supply ni igihe no price elastic supply ingana na rimwe. Ubishatse kuvuga ko a change in price result into proportionally equal change in quantity supplied. So supplier respond to changes in price. A change in price leads to relatively equal to change in quantity supplied. Twasanze yuko price ihinduka niko quantity nayo ihinduka, quantity supplied ihinduka. Then igisubizo iyo gisanze ki ari rimwe cyo tuba dufite unitary elastic supply. Elastic supply ni igihe tuzaba dufite elastic supply ni igihe price elasticity of supply tuzasanga iri munsi ya rimwe kandi ikaba izaba iruta rimwe ikaba munsi ya infinite, ikaba iri munsi ya infinite, iyo rimwe ikaba iri munsi ya infinite. A change in price result into a proportionately bigger change in quantity supplied. Supply vigorously respond to changes in prices. There is a smaller change in price leading to bigger change in quantity supplied. Yes, that's why it is called elastic supply. As price increases from OP1 to OP2 based on the graph, a similar change, quantity supplied respond by changing from OQ1 to OQ2. So, perfectly elastic supply. Perfectly elastic supply, I'm sorry. So, tuzayigira perfectly elastic supply mugiye perfect elastic price elastic supply igihe ingana na infinite. So there is a constant price. Mkonga dufite igiciro kiri constant mugihe quantity iri guhindagurika. Icyo gihe quantity supplied iri guhinduka igiciro kiri constant, then tuba dufite perfectly elastic, then in price elasticity supply equal to infinite. Determinant of price elasticity of supply. There is a determinant of price elasticity of supply. There is cost and availability of factors of production, nature of commodities, gestation period, time, method of production used, government policy, freedom of entry of new firms into industry, mobility of factors of production. We have seen them, so you have to read carefully and then you will understand the meaning. So as I recall, consumers and supply respond differently to changes in prices. Analyze public response towards billboard adverts about HIV and AIDS. So now we have what we have covered as a unit summary. So we have covered the following elasticity, elasticity of demand, elasticity of supply, price elasticity of demand, income elasticity of demand, cross elasticity of demand, perfectly elastic demand, unitary elastic demand, inelastic demand, perfectly inelastic demand, elastic supply, inelastic supply, perfectly elastic supply, perfectly inelastic supply, unitary elastic supply. As a unit assessment, now you have to read this assessment in order to see whether you have understood what we have covered in this unity. Thank you very much. Remember to subscribe, share, and give comment. If you have any questions, then you have to give comment and we can respond in timely manner. Thank you very much. Share with others so that we can succeed in our daily life by using our economic as we have studied, as we are learning on this YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Remember to subscribe.